Time for us, though, to turn to the phone lines where joining us is quarterback coach in the summertime and the offseason for one Josh Allen and Kyle Allen as well. You've heard him on this show before. He is the CEO of the QB Summit in California. It is one Jordan Palmer joining us on the show, and he's got some important news to pass along to us. Jordan, glad to have you with us. How you been?
I'm doing great. Kidding me? Football season's right here, right now. This isn't actually a Buffalo Bills hat. This is a first and second grade flag football league, Matt Leinart flag league. We are the Buffalo Bills, so today's our first practice for my second grade son. But no, football's here right around the corner. For me, the off season is my season. The season is my off season. So I'm coming out of a long one and fired up to see all the work these guys all put together the last 7 months and see it come to fruition.
Yeah, you've been, and you keep busy. I mean, you've got a lot on your plate. You're coaching flag football apparently, and you got that season kicking off. You're quarterback coaching. You're helping guys in the offseason at the highest level with, Kyle Allen and Josh Allen, those guys, and others as well. And you're also the director of quarterback development for the XFL, which, entails probably touching base with a lot of guys who are trying to get right where Josh is these days.
Yeah, absolutely. During the season, so the times have changed. The old way of thinking for any position and really any sport, but with quarterbacks, which is I'm going to use the off season to get better and work on things and get in great shape. And then when the season rolls around, I'm going to try and maintain that. That's an old way of thinking. So actually all of my clients are clients year round. And I'm typically Monday and Tuesday, I'm on Zoom with between 20 and 30 guys. I'm across Mondays and Tuesdays, watching game tape with them, breaking down, looking at mechanics. And so it's just a new way of thinking. And so guys like, you mentioned Josh and Kyle, and a lot of guys around college football and a lot of guys around the league. And then the XFL, this is their off season. And so we fire it up here in September and go September, October, November, December. And then their season starts, camps January, and their season starts right after the Super Bowl. So it's cyclical, and it's now become 12 months a year for me. So the off season, in the summers, as you mentioned, I'm on the field a lot, but the work continues year round.
Jordan, in Josh's work with you this off season, did he have to change his regimen in any way at the outset, knowing he kind of played through the UCL injury? Like, did he have to take maybe a couple of extra weeks just to let everything kind of calm down before he could, start back up again with you?
Yeah, Josh and guys that are, one, that are starters, two, that play in January. Not everybody plays football in January. And then three, guys who have ownership of their stroke, meaning just not working on throwing a consistent spiral anymore, not working on hitting certain spots over and over again, right? He's just got complete ownership of his stroke. Those guys start a lot later and take a lot more time off, and they just don't need to throw year round. And so for Josh, recoveries is as valuable as getting extra work in used to be with him. And it's not about how good you are. Once you get really good, then you don't have to work anymore. It's not that. It's just the tax on his body, the way he plays. And then you mentioned it. If you go back to his rookie year, he had a UCL strain, and I don't remember how bad it was, but it wasn't as bad as it was this past season. And he missed, 7, 8 games?
Yeah,
this
5
year,
games.
He missed 2 practices, a worse injury. That's just a testament to him understanding how to use his body, how to use the ground, how to be able to load lines of tension. And my hypothesis on that is he used to throw with a lot more of his arm, so it put a lot more strain on that UCL. This past year, and really the last few years, but this past year when he had that injury, he does not put the same amount of stress on his UCL that he did before. And so he was able to not really miss much practice, not miss any games. And until he ripped that 4th down conversion at Detroit to Steph, was really the first time that he just absolutely threw the ball as hard as he could and felt anything, And so I think that's a testament to him just developing the ownership of his stroke. And, the strongest arms in football, Josh Allen's one of them, right? Like guys who have big arms, their right arm is not necessarily stronger than everyone else's arm. It's more, they know how to sequence, use the ground, load lines of tension, and use the leverage that they create with their feet to be able to load those lines of tension and use their entire body and not just put the stress on their arm.
So when you watch film with these guys and you go on Zoom with, all the different clients that you're working with on a Monday or a Tuesday, you're not talking about where their eyes are, their plays, or the concepts they're running. You're talking about how they look when they throw the football and how often maybe they're off platform. You're talking about absolute mechanics.
Yeah, so the focus of those is mechanics. I have too much respect for their actual quarterback coach and their actual offensive coordinator to tell them that they should have thrown it to Z on that play. So I don't get into the X's and O's really at all. And I also don't introduce any new things. I also, in the middle of the season, won't say, hey, try this. We've never talked about this before, but try this. It's all getting them back to where they were when they're at their best. So I have a lot of content, shot a lot of video, basically a video everything we do. And so I'm typically doing a video voice recording of something that I saw in a game on one side where they were inefficient in a movement, and at the top of their drop, they lost stability, something like that. And a lot of times it's the result of that play was a great throw. I'm not trying to fix misses with the elite guys. We're trying to build consistent movement. And so I mirror that with a video of them doing it efficiently earlier. And so we were trying to use the season to get them back to where they were when they were at their best in the offseason, when they could just focus on mechanics. I believe that most mechanical issues that a quarterback has, they stem from a movement that precedes the throw. So let's say Josh misses a post over the top or hits it, I don't care. But he overstrided in a game. Well, if it was a miss and he overstrided, I wouldn't say that it was a bad throw. I would say that it was a bad movement. You overstrided. You put yourself in a position to overstride by something you did right before you hitched, right? So it's the movement that precedes the throw that typically is what causes a miss on these elite guys. And I've got a handful of them that I work with. And that's really the theme throughout the year. So I don't really step on toes. Some cases I deal with the quarterback coaches and the coordinators regularly. In some cases, I've never met the quarterback coach.
All right, Jordan. So with all this that you're doing, all these NFL clients, major college clients, flag football, you still carve out time for the QB Room podcast that you co-host with Kyle Allen, who is now a member of the Bills. And we know that Kyle and Josh have been friends since they came out in the same draft class in 2018, guys that have been tight for a while. So this new episode, you guys are going to have Josh on. Is it up already? Is it out there for everybody to listen to at this point in time, and maybe just shed a little bit of light on some of the ground you guys cover?
Yeah, so the concept for the show, we started it last year, called the QB Room, and what we realized is in media, and I've done stuff with ESPN and Fox and NFL Network, is if you don't have your conversation centered around the quarterback, I'm sure you guys are guilty of this as well. If you don't have the conversation centered around the quarterback, you don't have a show, right? You can't build a successful show talking about defensive backs or offensive line play. And so between Kyle being one of the coolest, if you guys have spent time with Kyle, Kyle's just like one of the coolest guys in the room, any room, right? And I've known Kyle since he was a sophomore in high school. He's like a little brother / best friend / client. What we realize is that there's just a void where none of the big time guys actually go on other people's podcasts. And every media obligation is used with the word obligation. But we feel like the most fascinating conversations are in the quarterback room, in the actual QB room where guys are sitting around hanging out talking. These are people who have more context for everything that's happening than the people around them. And quarterbacks are just privy to more info and more of what's happening. And so it's fascinating conversations. And so we started it last year, and we asked a lot of guys to come on, and everybody said yes. And then we formed a partnership with a big podcast network called Shots and Happy Dad. And so we just launched episode 1 was with Caleb Williams. Josh's episode came out this morning. So you can go check that out, the room, QB Room, Kyle and Jordan. And then we've got basically the biggest names in quarterback are all signed on for the rest of the year. So all the biggest names in college and pro are going to be guests week after week. We're recording with Jared Goff in about an hour. And that episode will drop the night before the Lions take on the Chiefs to kick off the season. So what we put together is a really cool concept where we dive deep. And we did it last year. We launched Josh's episode right before the Rams game. And I think everyone who's a Bills fan, and there's a lot of you, you guys all love Josh. I love Josh. But you're going to get a chance to see him talk to 2 of his best friends in a very candid, open way. We don't talk a ton about specifics on football. We talk more golf, talk more lifestyle, a little bit about Josh's house that he just built, and some of the goodies there, and it's more of a candid, open, honest conversation that's kind of just laugh for an hour and a half.
So you've got these guys you got Kyle and Josh in a room, and the conversation has to be wide ranging because of their friendship and their comfort level. Is this something I can have my 12-year-old listen to, or should I wait until they're
absolutely?
18?
I think Kyle might have some choice words in there every now and then, but no, absolutely. This is we're covering a lot. Josh's life's changed a lot the last few years, and even this off season with the now putting himself in a position where you got actual paparazzi, and so we cover a lot of the topics that I'm sure a lot of people know more about. And Kyle and Josh and I, we all live in California. We all live within a mile of each other, hang out all the time. And I mean, my kids, swim with Josh. So he's just around a lot, and Kyle as well. And so, yeah, I think it's a more candid conversation than you're probably going to see or you're going to get on One Bills Live.
Yeah,
Right.
I haven't been to Josh's house, nor do I anticipate being, but I would bet like $1 million that there's a golf simulator in there.
Well, there is. Yeah, we and I've got one in my office here too. We're all investors in the same fund called RX3, and RX3 is an investor in Full Swing Golf, and Full Swing Golf makes the best simulators. And so, yeah, there's a reason that last year at the AT&T deal at Pebble Beach, Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen both played in it.
Yeah.
There's a reason that Josh played really well and Aaron won it. They both have full swing simulators in their house. So if you think about during the season, you never touch a golf club. But if you got a simulator in your basement, I mean, that's the equivalent of watching a movie or playing video games for an hour, sitting there grabbing an 8-iron, and it's just a release. You know what I mean? And it's not a distraction. You're just going and doing something else. So, yeah, I think he's got a good setup down there.
What about the dynamic between Kyle and Josh? Obviously, they've been close friends for a while, but now they're teammates on the same team. I'm not indicating that's going to change their friendship in any way, shape, or form, but I wonder if it changes the dynamic in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, it caters to having good, healthy conversation in the quarterback room when you're getting ready for an opponent. But, I mean, I don't know. How do you see that playing in an advantageous way for the Bills in terms of getting ready for the next opponent, having that tight-knit, close relationship? I would have to imagine it's a plus because they're not afraid to be candid and upfront and completely honest with each other.
Well, it's really, we've talked about this. It's pretty similar to when I backed up my brother for 4 years in Cincinnati. And there's things that I will say to my brother that JT O'Sullivan or Ryan Fitzpatrick or Doug Johnson or that they're just not going to be comfortable saying, other people who've backed him up. When you have that relationship, you can say what needs to be said because there's no concern with how it's going to affect our relationship. And that's if things need to be said. But I think the thing that I'm sure Brandon Beane saw going through this process, and they've learned the last few months spending around Kyle. Kyle's a brilliant young football mind. I've been around this guy a long time. This is his 1, 2, 3, 4th team. So that's a lot of different ways of doing it. He's played with some great players. And he's played with Alex Smith. He's played with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's played with Cam Newton. So he's been around a lot of these guys, but he's also been around me. And I would say this is one of the smarter young football minds that I've been around in terms of protections and understanding things. So, the Bills are a very complicated offense to learn. Kyle picked it up really quickly. But I think Kyle's, and Josh has had this in the past with some great backups going all the way back to Derek Anderson. Matt Barkley, I think, has played a big role with him. Case and these different guys that you've had. But I think Kyle's going to be a best case scenario as a backup because he's got a lot of starts. He's played well in tough situations. And yet he's going to be able to be candid and honest with somebody that he loves and respects. And the other thing, too, is sometimes you get a backup who really wants to play, right? You don't want the other guy to get hurt, but you really want to play. This is more like when I backed up my brother, I would have loved to play, but the last thing I would want is my brother to get hurt or something bad to happen. You have a similar dynamic here because Kyle's also just a huge fan of his buddy. And I mean, look at this. And I don't know if anybody knows this. So Kyle, what was Josh's year he went to the playoffs? Second year?
Yeah,
They lost
19.
to Houston.
19. Yeah.
Kyle had just started a bunch of games that year in Carolina. I think he started 10 games or something. And their season ended. And he got on a plane, and him and his girlfriend at the time, fiance now, they flew to Houston and sat in the stands and watched Josh's first playoff game. And Kyle goes, I'm not missing Josh's first playoff game. He bought a ticket and sat in the stands and watched his buddy play 2 days after exit interviews. So this is a really cool bond where somebody really wants, Josh's success is absolutely in the best interest of Kyle. And that's the dynamic that you want. And I think it's going to play out really, really well because as tough moments happen and hard situations happen, you've got a smart, capable backup who, by the way, if he goes in, he's going to play really well, who can be honest and give really good information. So I'm really excited for Kyle. I'm really excited for Josh, and I'm excited for the Bills.
Yeah, it's more than just having a buddy in the room. And I made this point on the broadcast during the preseason, also on this show a lot, and people probably get tired of hearing it. But the whole quarterback room isn't set up for Kyle Allen to be ready to play. It's for Kyle Allen and Matt Barkley and the guys to get Josh ready to play. And that's kind of the way the room is set up. And having a guy like Kyle, it's about his relationship with Josh and being able to say hard things to Josh in moments when it's needed and knowing when those moments are, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not, hey, you need to work harder, or you need to make better decisions. It's not reprimanding. It's, when somebody doesn't see something the first time and then that second time it happens, it's the ability to come in and go, hey, that's twice you haven't seen that, man. We got to get our eyes over it. It's just the little tiny things that I think have played out when you look at these great dynamics. Patrick Mahomes has had a great backup in Chad Henne. I played with Chad. That's a similar rapport there. And I can look around the league and look at some, the starter isn't a great situation, but the backup is actually a value add. And somebody who can contribute in the relationship that they have. And so I think that's what the Bills have here. And I think they've had it in the past too, but it's a little different dynamic, just how close they are.
Jordan, thanks for the time as always. Good luck with your flag football game. QB Room Podcast with Kyle and Josh Allen. And I'm assuming, Jordan, that can be found on all podcast platforms?
Yeah, it's on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, and all that. But watch the video on YouTube. I know that there's been a lot of rumors about Josh's house and the golf course, the holes that he built at his house.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people have wondered and heard about that. We're going to unpack just what is now called Buffalo National.
Oh, wow. All right. Jordan, thanks for the time. We appreciate it. We'll be sure to check it out. Good luck with the flag football, man. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you very much.